again, everyone. What do you think of that cool new intro music? Today is February 27th, 2020. This is Jeff Coons with the Gateway Sun coming to you today with a special report specifically for Stoneybrook residents. Over the past few days, I've uncovered a plot to reinstate the street parking ban in your community. Again, this is brand new information that I've just discovered here in the past couple of days. Now, before I go any further, I want to point out that this video that you're watching now is not the Decade of Deceit video that I'm still in production on. That's because I'm waiting on a single document, a single but very important document from the Lee County Sheriff's Office. It's actually been 2 weeks now for this one piece of evidence, but I need it. I need it to be able to tell you the whole story of what's happened with this Stoneybrook street parking scam since 2009. I need this piece of information. That's been the delay on the Decade of Deceit video. This video is something that's actually very, very recent. As you may recall, on February 5th or 6th of this year, I reported that the LCSO had advised the Stoneybrook HOA, which the HOA has confirmed, that traffic control was no longer going to be available to their services. Their traffic control services were no longer going to be made available to your community, and that's based on the fact that the Sheriff's Office did not have legal jurisdiction over the roads, as I've been reporting. And the reason for that is the 2006 agreement that granted jurisdiction in the county's eyes, and you're looking at that right here. Well, I'll just read the key paragraph from that document, but it says, final agreement has been reached by and among Stoneybrook Gateway Homeowners Association Incorporated, the Lee County Sheriff's Office, and the county staff with respect to terms and conditions for the county to exercise its jurisdiction over certain private roads within Stoneybrook for the sheriff to patrol, same pursuant to section 316.006 subsection 3B Florida statutes. Okay. So what ended up happening is because the roads are owned by the Gateway District and not the HOA was not legally able to bind the district into this kind of agreement, making this agreement that you're looking at invalid. It was a huge blow to the Stoneybrook leaders who've been lying to you for a decade. Remember how people like Joe McCulca and JT Thomas have all said, for years, oh, the HOA can make the rules and prevent parking and forbid street parking and tell our vendor to put the fake tickets on your cars. Well, that's all not true. And this right here, the fact that the LCSO has looked at this and said, no, we can't do that, this is invalid, it just proves the liars that they are. But since that day on the February 5th or 6th, 3 weeks ago or whatever it is, I've noticed some strange things have been happening. Beginning with the February 12th 2020 meeting of the Stoneybrook Advisory Committee. You're seeing a picture of that meeting on your screen here, and in the middle are the three wise men, right? From left to right, it's Warren Davies, Joe McCulca, and JT Thomas. So, there they are, right? They're sitting there, and they've just been handed an epic defeat, like totally humiliated and exposed for the whole community. It's their first meeting, and I'm not going to have you watch this whole video since it's too long, it's kind of boring, but basically, the perception that they have, somewhat successfulyou imposed on the rest of the community is that they have control of the streets. That perception has been obliterated. The LCSO has said, we're not doing it. You don't have a legal agreement for us to do this. You do not have control, right? So their whole scam's over. And there they are just a few days later after finding out this news. It's their first official meeting, and they're talking in this meeting about signage and enforcement. And they're calm as can be. There's no panic whatsoever. They're saying that, all we need to do, we need to raise the signs up and we're back in business. No street parking, back in effect. They even made a motion at this meeting to contract with the sign company to get that done. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's really strange. The 2006 agreement has been, nullified. It's no longer valid. And they think they could just raise the signs up higher and the LCSO will come back? Like, what in the world would give them that idea? That's very bizarre that they would think that would be the case. You fast forward a week to the Gateway District Board of Supervisors meeting on February 20th, just, a week ago, And you know what? This video I am going to have you watch. It is 3 minutes or whatever, but you need to see this. And here's a still shot of it. And going from left to right is Gateway's attorney, Tony Pierce, Supervisor Ed Tinkle, Chairperson Margaret Feinberg, Supervisor Kathleen Flaherty, and Gateway District Chris Shoemaker. I can't really see who's on there on the very right. I think it's maybe their accountant, but I'm not 100% sure. But he doesn't speak in this video. So it's not, we'll move on. But absent in this video, you'll notice, are Vice Chairman Bill Guy and Supervisor Doug Banks. That's what the two empty chairs are for. And that may actually be a bit of a metaphor for what's happening in this situation. But anyway, check out this video from that meeting.
And in fact, they are, how do I say it? They are denying that the phone call ever existed. Yeah, well, this isn't Mission Impossible, and it didn't vaporize, and I'm not putting up with it because there were two of us on the phone that heard it, and so there's a discussion with the county and the county attorney on that. We're going to be asking for some apologies, but it does bring up a problem. It's my understanding that they withdrew our deal in Stoneybrook and pulled the document that was never approved in the first place, or wasn't approvable in the first place. That leads us at the next meeting. I'd like to have a discussion. Let's have the CDD file a request with the county to enter into an agreement with them to do that, such that if we are going to be in the business of monitoring traffic flow, traffic related issues in Stoneybrook, we got a contract to do it with. It's legal.
I don't know that it was ever determined that the contract that exists isn't legal.
It's not been pulled.
I heard they denied it.
No, what they've done, they're reviewing.
Well, how can they review it on the entity? We didn't authorize it. It's not in our name. We own the roads. Can't be another property doing it.
They're reviewing it, and
That's legal.
No, I'm just saying, they have the opportunity and the ability to review that, and that's what they're doing.
In other words, a final determination has not been made.
But if you want,
Somebody's getting a different story from the people I'm getting it straight from the commissioner. Has been denied on the grounds that it was not a legal document to begin with. It was not authorized by or in the name of Gateway CDD.
that's being reviewed. But if the board wants me to bring something back.
My point is, if it's, when they deny it, let's bring it back and file for it in the name of the Gateway CDD.
If they do, okay.
Let's wait and see what we
See
hear
what they
from
do,
them.
yep.
And in the meantime, we're waiting to hear from the AGO anyway, so all this is kind of up in the air.
Yes.
All the balls are up in the air.
Other than that.
And on that note, let me just hand out to you, without all the attachments, well, it is all with the AGO request. So you all have a copy of it, and also the zoning verification letter request.
The other
Without all the exhibits to that.
okay, the other two issues I've got are the FPL easement.
Okay, so there's Tinkle saying that, since the 2006 agreement has been nullified, the district should consider re-engaging the county and look into how to enter into a new and legal agreement. And Feinberg and Pierce, who you would think are like, well, that's great news, but they're not. They're like, well, hold on. They're like, I wouldn't be too sure that agreement is actually even invalid. It's under review. They say that multiple times, that it's under review. And Tinkle goes, no, it's not under review. I've been told from higher powers, it's not under review, it's over. And I guess when you guys come around to finding out, when they tell you it's over, and then the lawyer Pierce interjects, he goes, no, if it's over. Like, this guy's confident that this agreement may, is actually under review and could still be under consideration. So right then and there, in the way that they're behaving, they're like, they're up to something. Those two are up to something. I don't know exactly what they're up to, but they are up to something. And so I make the decision to start looking into this. And sure enough, they've got a secret plan, folks. It is such a great plan, and it's so secret that they couldn't even tell Tinkle about it at the meeting. They're going to get their plan. They're going to get the 2006 agreement reinstated, and there will be no more parking. And everyone will think that the sun is fake news, and they're so excited, and they'll be the big heroes of Stoneybrook, and parking is over. Street parking is done. JT's going to host a huge I Hate Jeff party, and they're going to celebrate this because it's done, it's over, and they've won, right? So that's why Warren, Warren Davies, Joe McCullough, and J.T. Thomas were so calm at their meeting because they know that there's this secret plan in place, and it just needs time to work its way through. Piers is going to be the hero and save the day, right? They know this is happening. Well, as it stands, I actually have uncovered their little plot. And I'm going to tell you what their little plot is on one condition. Nobody can tell Tinkle, because as you saw on the video, Tinkle, he's not allowed to know. It's a super secret plot, and only the Stoneybrook leaders can know about this, and I'm not allowed to know, and you're not allowed to know, and Tinkle is not allowed to know. We all saw that on the video. So here's the plan. And keep this in mind, this is confirmed. This is not, what JT calls fake news or whatever he says. This is legitimate. This is the actual plan or plot that they had in place, and here it is. Gateway's lawyer, Tony Pierce, went behind the back of the Board of Supervisors, with the exception of Feinberg. Obviously, she was in on it. But Pierce is attempting to hand over legal control of Stoneybrook's roads from the Gateway District to the HOA. Now, again, he's done this behind the board's back. And I was joking that you can't tell Tinkle. I've already filled him in on what's happening. But the other supervisors will all be learning about this through this video. What Pierce did was he took a contract between the district and the Stoneybrook HOA, which is titled Community Development District Systems and Facilities Operation and Management Agreement. And he's using that to establish with Lee County that the HOA has been given the legal authority to bind the district into legal agreements, such as the 2006 agreement to grant jurisdiction over Stoneybrook's roads to the LCSO. Now, here's the money paragraph, and I will just read that really quickly here. Okay. It's paragraph C in the agreement. Subject to the terms and conditions contained herein, the district desires to contract with the association to operate and maintain the district's systems and facilities, including but not limited to roads and sidewalks. There it is, roads, right? Access control, including gatehouse and entrance, monument, and landscape, all as more particularly described on Exhibit B, attached hereto, and made part hereof, as it may be modified as outlined below herein. Okay. So that's the plan. In English, Pierce, without asking for or obtaining permission from the full Gateway Board, or even informing the board, even having that courtesy, or, informing the public, Pierce secretly contacted the Lee County Legal Office, telling them that the district had bestowed the HOA this legal authority based on this agreement to enter into the 2006 interlocal agreement that you're seeing on your screen. And Feinberg clearly knew it, and I 100,000% believe McCullough, Thomas, Warren, Davies knew it too, and that's why they're as cool as a cucumber. Just raise the signs back up, and we're back in business. Pierce, in the Stoneybrook leadership's mind, is going to restore the 2006 agreement with the LCSO and put it back into effect, and he's secretly used this contract to get that done. Okay, so what you're looking at is the first page of the 2006, interlocal agreement. And I'm laughing because this is such incompetent lawyering by Pierce that I don't know what else to do. But here's, and they're pinning their hopes to this, which is crazy, but okay, so here's the first page of the document. We already read, that one paragraph on it. But here's the second page of the document. And on that page it reads, you're seeing the red arrow, whereas the roads described in Exhibit A have been dedicated to the association and are currently operated and controlled by the association. That's not true. They were never dedicated to the association. They were dedicated to the Gateway District. How can the association say they even have control of the roads? Like, if you follow the money, the district are the ones who set and collect the taxes. The district are the ones who pays out for all the maintenance through its 004 fund. The HOA cannot go on its own, alter, fix, or do anything to those roads. They have no control. The district controls the roads. The HOA, in my view, must have flat out lied to the county in 2006 for them to put this together, because they were never dedicated to the association, and the association does not and has never had control over the roads. How this paragraph got into there is the very reason that this whole agreement is going to be blown up. The district did not enter into this agreement. The association entered into this agreement, and the association misrepresented what was in, the reality of the situation. Oh, but Jeff, what about that contract that you just showed us 2 minutes ago between the district and the HOA? Well, let's look at that, because it doesn't say anything about legal control. It doesn't say that the HOA controls anything. The words that it uses is that the HOA can maintain and operate. So, there's a difference. Operate and maintain. Let's look real quick at the Florida law, the 316 one that we talked about. It says own or control. And going back to the contract says operate and maintain. Owning and controlling are very different things to operating and maintaining. They're totally different words, and that too would totally make this agreement invalid. But do you want to know what the real kicker is? The real kicker to this whole thing, this agreement, I'm talking about the one between the district and the HOA, the one that everyone's been so confident about, and they, McCulk's real sure this would reestablish the parking ban, and Piers and Feinberg were like, well, hold on there, we need to make sure this is, whatever, in that video. This is the document that's part of the secret plan. Here's the kicker. That document, as you're seeing on your screen now, took effect on October 4, 2012. Let me say that again. This agreement, the one that the Feinberg, they're pinning their hopes on, took effect in October 2012. Even if everything else was in order, what kind of a lawyer would actually believe that an agreement entered into in 2012 could retroactively grant the Stoneybrook HOA the power to enter into the interlocal agreement from 6 years earlier in 2006? What human being would believe that an agreement entered into in 2012 could be used to say, oh, hey, since we're entering into this agreement now and granting whatever we're granting today, it actually, in the eyes of the law, would be valid to grant them the authority back in 2006. Okay? Again, those roads were not dedicated to the association, and there's a difference between owned and controlled and operated and maintained. All that aside, who in the hell comes up with the idea that a 2012 contract could grant rights or permissions back in 2006? It doesn't work that way. And look, Piers' incompetence on this issue has been well documented in this space, at least for the past few years. This is just the latest. It's embarrassing. It really is. Like, that this lawyer would contact Lee County and go, oh, yeah, look at this. This should, everything's good now, right? Yeah, oh my God, it's deeply embarrassing for the district that their lawyer would do that. But I'm going to circle back to the Board of Supervisors. The incompetence has already been talked about, but now we're going to talk about the supervisors. Their lawyer did all this with this agreement behind their back. Feinberg alone cannot empower Piers to try and pull off what he just did, which Piers tried to hand over control of district-owned roads to the HOA and allow the HOA to enter into legal agreements in Lee County's eyes. Okay, that is a huge breach of protocol. It's Piers granting himself authority that he didn't have. I know Feinberg's gonna say if Feinberg let me, wanted me, whatever. That is a huge frickin' no-no for him to do this with the county, and I'm dying to see what the supervisors do about this. It's going to be their leadership test over, do they have control of their district or not? That's what we're going to find out at the next Gateway meeting. But look, here's the reality, guys. Let's just get to the bottom line here. Only 26%, I should say, of Stoneybrook residents want a street parking ban. That picture of the meeting here, you see that we're discussing the roads. Guy and Banks are absent. They aren't there for the community in this picture. But if Guy and Banks want to represent the 26% and be in the picture, they can do that. Feinberg will vote with them, and that'll be 3, and Flair probably would too. But anyway, either be 3-1 or 4-1. But if they wanted to reinstitute a street parking ban and support the 26%, they actually could do that. And they have 3 options if they want to do it, and that would create a legally enforceable no parking zone in Stoneybrook. They actually can do it. And here are the 3 ways they can do it legally that the LCSO will go along with. 1, they can install MUTCD compliant no parking signs every 30 feet on every road. Now that means the signs that they're there now, they'd have to come down anyway, right? They'd have to be replaced with MUTCD compliant signs, and they'd have to be joined by signs that are, positioned every 25 to 30 feet or whatever down the streets. So, fun. The second way that they could create a legally enforceable no parking zone would be to build curbs and paint them all yellow. Now, this isn't an MUTCD thing, but in Florida, you cannot park beside curbs that are painted yellow. It's a state law. So if they built curbs all along the Stoneybrook roads and they painted them all yellow, that would actually create a no parking zone. And they could go to the county and say, hey, we've done this. This is authorized by our board, and we'd like you to enforce this no parking, and the sheriff's office would look at it. As long as the other signs were METCD compliant, like the stop signs and the speeding signs, the county would sign off on it. The sheriff's office would go, okay, this all looks good, and there you go. You'd have no parking. Now, it'd look like crap to have signs every 20 feet or 30 feet or yellow curbs, but, at least it would be legal, and the LCSO could defend their tickets in court if they did one of those 2 things. Now, the third option is to transfer ownership of the roads to the HOA, and then the HOA could do whatever it wanted to. Now, there's no guarantee that can happen because there's questions about whether a government entity like the CDD can transfer roads to a private entity like the HOA. They've got an opinion. They're asking for an opinion from the Attorney General as to whether they could do that. But if they could, that would actually be the best solution. And the reason is because then the residents of Stoneybrook could control what happens with parking in their own community. I mean, look, I've been forwarded comments by Joe McCulca that he's made, like, what has Jeff really done to benefit Stoneybrook? And what I've done is I've destroyed their lies. Okay, when only 26% support a parking ban, and there is no mechanism for the residents to implement their own rules through HOA elections, tell me, why should a small number of people in power get to deceive the community for an entire decade and create their own fake rules and even go so far as to installing fake parking signs and make you believe that you can't park there? Right? The whole thing's a lie. So what I'd like to see is for the roads to be transferred to the HOA, and then through the community's election process, HOA election process, your board could set the rules the right way. If board people running for the board say, well, I want this rule, I want that rule, you could vote for them. The community could have control. But the reality is, guys, the community has no control. They cannot, the HOA can't set the rules. So again, why should a small number of people led by Feinberg be allowed to just say, you know what, they don't know any better. Let's just tell them that they can't park. We'll even put up these signs, and everybody will believe it, and you won't be able to, and they'll just listen to us because they won't know any better. And that's what happened, and that's what I wanted to put a stop to. I want you guys to have the knowledge that you have your rights to do that. And I understand there's some people who have some safety concerns, but look, every community in Gateway has roads that are the same width as Stoneybrook, except for a few. And nobody's ever been hurt. Every Florida-wide, nationwide, all the roads, 20 feet, same thing, and very, very few incidents, right? So why should, again, a small number of people in power be allowed to fool you? And that's what I've been trying to fight. But I do support the roads being transferred to the HOA, and then the HOA being able to make its own rules. But until that happens, then people who have the right to park should be allowed to park. But anyway, This latest little scam that they pulled here, contacting the Lee County legal office behind the back of the public and behind the back of the other supervisors, it's not going to work. Because even if everything, forget everything else, let's say everything else was valid, even if the 2006 agreement, with the county was valid, which is not, but let's just say it was, the no parking signs were installed by district staff without telling the county and outside of MUTCD compliance in 2010. Okay, so how could an agreement that was entered into in 2006 be enforced signs that were installed it's a little over 3 years later? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Sorry Margaret, sorry Joe, sorry JT, sorry Warren. I know you had your hopes up that Tony would save the day and you could just lift up, the current signs by a foot and voila, the LCSO will suddenly come back, but they're not gonna. You're gonna need a brand new agreement, and that means MUTCD compliance and or yellow painted curbs, guys. That's just the way it's gonna have to be. Or you can sit out and wait for hope that the HOA is granted control of the roads. So, that's just the truth. They're not telling you the truth. They're saying that they can raise the signs up and they'll be good to go. I've heard they were out there with tape measures trying to get this done, but it's just not going to work that way. Look, but the reality is that my eyes aren't even on what the HOA is doing right now. It's over. You can park. It's fine. My eyes are on the Board of Supervisors, specifically Guy and Banks, because they're the two question marks. Guy is concerned about if we make rules in Stoneybrook, what effect is that going to have on Pelican Preserve where he lives? So he's kind of wishy-washy for that reason. Banks is wishy-washy because he has some, let's call it non-district pressure on him to, decide things a certain way, and I'll just leave it at that. But, if they're doing everything right for the district, what they ought to do is take down those signs that are up there now and pursue the proper legal way to either enforce street parking, or better yet, I take that back. What they should do is find out what the residents of Stoneybrook actually want and then work to implement the desires of the entire community rather than just a few people like McCulca and Feinberg and what their own, and Thomas, and what their own little preferences are. They should find out what the community wants and put in their efforts to implement what the community wants. So I am waiting, though, to see what they do when they find out that their own lawyer went behind their backs, the board's back, to do this, to try to transfer control of Stoneybrook's roads to the HOA, at least in the view of Lee County. So we'll see what they do about that, and I will report it. But until then, as I've said, since I found out about the situation all the way back in 2017, I'm tired of talking about it. But here we are. They keep trying new little scams like this latest one, so I have to keep keeping you informed. But until I find out differently and let you know, you may park on the streets of Stoneybrook 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. This has been Jeff Coons with the Gateway Sun. Thank you for listening.